Now on the inside, we're going to calculate surface area. Again, surface area is how much stuff is on the outside of my shape. There's two different ways that you can calculate surface area. The first way is if you take a net, you can figure out the area of each of the shapes and just add them all together. So if I look at this rectangle here, to figure out the area of my rectangle, I multiply my base times my height. So I take 3 times 6, which is 18. For this skinny rectangle here, it tells me this side is 2. So I take 2 times this 6, because this side right here, that's also 6. So 2 times 6 is 12. This rectangle here, again, this bottom side is 3. This longer side here is 6. 3 times 6 is 18. And then this last one here, this is going to match up with that side there. So that means that this is also 2. This long side is still 6. So this is also going to be 12. Opposite faces match. Then for my base, I see that this side is 3. I know that this side is also 2 because it was 2 here. So 3 times 2 is 6. The same thing up here. 3 times 2 is 6. Once I find the area of all those little pieces, I add them up. So I'm going to do 12 plus 6 plus 18 plus 12 plus 6 plus 18 to add up all those numbers. Those make 10, those make 10, those make 12. So 32, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So my answer here would be 72 centimeters squared. You can also, hang on. If you need to re-watch any of that, pause, rewind the video, see it again. Or if you're ready, let's move on to the rectangular prism. This rectangular prism is the same thing as this. This is the net of this rectangular prism. We have the 2, the 3, and the 6. There is also a formula that you can use to help you figure out the surface area. For a prism, your surface area is equal to 2 times L, that's the letter L, that's not a 1, W plus 2LH plus 2WH. When they're side by side like that, what operation is that? Multiplying. So we're going to be multiplying numbers times 2 and adding them together. Our L's, W's, and H's all come from the length, the width, and the height of this rectangle. This front side here, this is going to be your length, which is 3. Oh, sorry, I wanted to write the L to show that 3 is my length. 3 is my length. Sorry, I need to wipe that out. It's going to bother me. There we go. My 2, that's my width, how wide it is. And then 6, that's my height. That's how tall my shape is. So over here, we're going to plug in those numbers. Again, my length was 3. My width was 2. My height was 6. What's really nice about this is we can use Desmos to help us solve this. We don't have to use that whole formula to solve it. We can just type everything into Desmos. So if you haven't yet, go ahead, pause the video, and open up to Desmos. All right, so now that we've got our calculator out, the first step for us to put this into Desmos is to type out our formula. So again, if you look at the top of that rectangular prism, it says our surface area is our S, is equal to 2LW plus 2LH plus 2WH. Go ahead and pause the video, put that in on your Desmos calculator and hit enter. Now that you've got the formula all typed out, double check, make sure it's right. Now all we have to do is tell Desmos what each of those letters means. So like we wrote on that right column, Our L is equal to 3. Our W is equal to 2. And our H is equal to 6. I type all those things in my calculator, and it tells me that my total surface area right here is 72. My total surface area is 72. Go ahead, pause the video, type those things in your calculator as well, see if you get the same thing. Again, quick reminder, that's the letter. That is the letter L. That is not a 1. That is the letter L for your formulas there and for right there. That is the letter L. That is not the number 1. Go ahead and go back to your paper, and now we're going to look at finding the surface area of a cylinder. Before we go on to the cylinders, make sure that you write that you also got the same answer. You still got 72 centimeters squared for your surface area of that prism. Again, it's the same shape, so our answers should match up. Next, we have a cylinder. We have a cylinder net and a regular cylinder. If we look at a cylinder net, we see that we have 2 bases that are circles and 1 really big long face. So again, this is a base, this is a base. This is 1 really long face. Over here, my 6, that was a base. This 6 was a base, but all of those were faces. So to find the area of a cylinder on the net, you could find the area of the circles, add them up, find the area of the rectangle and add them up, but that gets really tricky with this side length because we would need to find the circumference of that circle. So we're not going to go show it that way. We're just going to do a cylinder using our formula. We're going to do a cylinder just using our formula. In our formula, it looks a little bit different. We have 2 and this shape, or that letter. We've talked about that a little bit earlier in the year. That is called pi. Whenever you see that shape pi, we're going to approximate it to 3.14. So when we're typing this in our formula, instead of typing that symbol, we're going to type 3.14 in its place instead. Then we have this letter R. The R stands for radius. A radius is halfway across a circle. A radius is halfway across a circle. So this circle here, we see our radius is 10. That's halfway across the circle. On some cylinders, they're going to tell you the diameter. The diameter is all the way across a circle. That would be 20. But for our formula, we only want halfway across our circle. So if they give you the diameter, if they give you that whole thing, you have to take that diameter and divide it by 2 to get your radius if you need to do that. We'll see some examples like that. And then over here, we're squaring our radius. We're taking the radius times itself. Plus 2. We've got pi again. We're going to use 3.14. We've got our radius again. And then our h, that's the same thing that it was last time. Our h is our height, which is 30. So let's pull out our information again so that we can put it in Desmos. Our radius, like we said, is 10. The height of the whole thing is 30. Go ahead and make sure you've got all that written down. Pause it if you need to. Otherwise, go ahead and switch your calculator over to Desmos, and then join me with the rest of the video. All right, so now we have our cylinder. So the first thing we need to do, just like with the prisms, is type in our surface area formula. So my surface area for a cylinder is equal to 2 times, we said pi was 3.14, times my radius squared. If I need to square a number, I need to click this button there. That will square the button for me. So 2 times pi times my radius squared plus 2 times pi times my radius times my height. Double check your formula. Double check your formula. Make sure that you've got everything typed in there, right? And then we see that from our problem, our radius is equal to 10. Our height is equal to 30. So we see that our total surface area then is 2,512.